Welcome to the Scalable Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we discuss the most scalable strategies, tools, and approaches to successfully invest in real estate. Learn how to make the most impact of your time, automate your real estate investing business, find off-market deals with minimum time invested, and leverage your capital to create as many income streams as possible so that you can achieve true financial independence. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Mason Clement. Hi everyone, Mason Clement here. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to ask you one question. Are you sick of the wild swings in the stock market and ready to try something different? Did you know that investing in stocks actually put you at the very bottom of a company's capital structure, meaning that there's practically 0% chance that you're going to get any of your money back in the event that the company files bankruptcy? So basically, you're putting yourself in the riskiest position for a questionable return. Personally, I hate the unpredictability and just waking up and having half of my investment gone when I didn't do anything wrong. So what a lot of people don't know is that you can actually make higher returns on a consistent basis by investing in the opposite end of the capital structure, which is actually the safest place to be, which is on the debt side in a first lien position. And you can do that by investing in real estate, and specifically investing with my company in notes that are backed by the land that we purchase. So if you're ready to diversify your income stream, go ahead and go over to scalablerei.com and click on invest in the top right corner. There you're going to find a form that you can fill out to determine if you're eligible to invest with my company, Celion Capital, and we'll be reaching out to you to schedule an introductory call and speak more from there. So thanks a lot, and let's jump into the episode. Hi, Scalable Investors. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Scalable Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Mason Clement, and today we have another fellow land investor on the show, Brent Bowers. I've been following him for a while. I think he's going to just unpack tons of valuable stuff here to have all of us grow our land businesses. So without further ado, Brent, what's going on?
Hey, just another day in paradise, Mason. Just enjoying the real estate game and just what we've built and the scalability of this. And I'm just excited to talk to you as well, because you're sharing a land deal that you're doing right before you hit the record button. So I'm in good company.
All right, perfect. Yeah. So in case people aren't familiar with you, or maybe they're not quite yet in the fold of the land business, why don't you just talk about your real estate journey and what brought you to where you're at with your business now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in real estate in 2007 and bought that first rental property as soon as I had gotten my real estate license. I was actually under the notion or the impression that to be a good real estate investor, I had to be a real estate agent. So I bought that first rental property, which was a complete, utter disaster and failure, and just multiple evictions. And I held it until about 2019 and never even made a penny on the house. And then pretty much got out of real estate in 2009 because I just wasn't cutting it. Like, I was not able to pay my bills. I had a lawn service that I had left, and then we moved to the coast, and I was trying to do real estate, and ultimately had to throw in the towel basically because I wasn't able to afford the rent anymore. I ended up having to move in with my in-laws, and luckily she's now my ex-wife, but my ex-wife's grandpa was willing to kind of just encourage me. He introduced me to Jim Rohn, and I got to listen to all those cassette tapes that he had. I had to convert cassette tapes to CDs, and just kind of got me on the path to personal growth. And he's just like, look, go join the military, go back to school, do something different. And ultimately I hung it up for a little while, joined the Army. The Air Force wouldn't have me, basically, because I didn't score a high enough score on the ASVAB. So basically I wasn't smart enough to be in the Air Force. So I joined the Army, did a couple deployments to Afghanistan back to back. And then ultimately I was gone so much, my marriage failed. So 2013, the Army pulls me out of my second deployment to Afghanistan and sends me to school to be an Army officer. So I'm getting the dream. The dream is happening to go to school. But also my life was like in the toilet at that time. So I went to college, met the beautiful woman I'm married to now, Emily, and we had some kids. We had kids, and then I saw history repeating itself. I'm gone all the time with the military. I'm working like crazy. I'm on track for the combat deployment number 3, And what they don't tell you is you have a year train up before that. So you're always gone. And I really started searching for answers, like listening to the Scalable Real Estate Investor podcast and just searching everywhere for answers. And I stumbled upon land, and I started buying these small pieces of land and basically flipping them overnight. And the ones I couldn't flip, I would sell on seller financing. And before I knew it, I had built, a couple $1,000s a month coming in land payments. And that was ultimately my ticket out of my W-2 job, which was the military. And I just kept growing it and growing it. I mean, just making an extra 2, 3, 4,000. Before I knew it, it was $9,000 a month in land payments. And I put in my application to get out of the military. It was granted, and I just kept building it up and scaling it. And now I'm teaching people about it because it literally changed my life. Like, everything has changed by just hearing that one podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny how things can just have a domino effect and really accumulating. So where are you based out of now?
So I live in Florida now. When I was my last duty station was Fort Carson, Colorado, and I built a business up out there. But now we've moved back to Florida to be closer to family and friends and grandparents with 3 kids. So we're in Florida now.
Okay, cool. It seems like that's everyone's destination and goal is to go to Florida.
Well, I had come from Florida originally, and I kind of forgot how hot it was here. So, it wasn't in the plan, but God definitely directed our paths. That's for sure.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Well, yeah, I moved back to Texas back in December 2019, but it makes sense just growing up here and being closer to family, all that. Also, it's just easier because that's the markets I like to do land investing in. So,
Oh
yeah, here
yeah,
we are.
some of my best students in the land sharks community, they're in Texas, and I look at their numbers, and let me tell you, the thief of happiness is comparison, and looking at what your students and your friends are doing. Let me tell you, like, and it's always Texas. I'm like, one day I'm going to get into that market, and it's huge. There's so much land out there. It's just incredible. It's wide open acres, or wide open opportunity, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. And there's the terrain topography just so diverse as you go from west to east. Like,
Hmm.
you're in the desert in the beginning of the Rocky Mountains over there,
Yep.
kind of El Paso area, and then all the way on the other side, you're in like pine woods and
Yeah.
almost the swamps of Louisiana.
Yeah, it's a huge expanse of land. And that's just one state, just one state. There's so much land opportunity out there. I mean, there's more land than there are houses and multifamily put together. I don't know why everyone's going after this dirty old stinky cat pee houses and fighting over those, because there's way more land deals than we have for like, multifamily and houses we can flip and rent out. So it's really just the untapped market, but they've been doing it since, the first piece of land was platted and it turned into subdividing. It's not a new game. It's just now starting to be talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully not talked about too much.
Yeah. Yeah. My precious.
Yes. No, it's kind of the scarcity mindset creeping in, It's like, are there too many people doing it? Because I definitely notice some of my mailers aren't converting as much as before, but I just wanted to get into that. So in terms of like how you're running your business now, are you primarily focusing on mail or SMS or both?
I don't do any SMS right now. I've toyed with it in the past, but my mail is so on point. And I don't recommend people do multiple marketing avenues until they have literally dominated one avenue. What does that mean? Basically, I want you to know, like, okay, if I send out 800 mailers, I get exactly one contract. I get 15 responses and I make $10,000, and it costs me this much to send out those mailers. It's almost like your oldest child. When he comes in from school, he's going to want a snack, and you know exactly what he's going to watch on TV. That's how well you should know that marketing channel. And that's mail for me. I send out what I call land offer letters, or LOLs, because every time we get one back, we laugh out loud because we just got a piece of land under contract, a beautiful piece of land for less than 50 cents on the dollar. So we send these land offer letters out, and they sign them and send us back. They fax it back to us, they email it, they snail mail it. And if anybody wants a copy of that, I'm actually triple split testing this one mailer, and it's working better than every other mailer I've ever used. And if you're if your listener or if your audience wants a copy of that, they can just go to thelandsharks.com/LOL. And that's my gift to you guys.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was my next question. You kind of already hit on it, is blind offers, range offers. You ever tried the range or neutral,
Nope.
or really? Okay.
Nope. I'll do postcards, which is my neutral letter basically. And then the actual land offer letter, the LOL, is my specific, here's exactly the amount I'll pay for the land. Does that always work out? Sometimes the cost is off, or the price that we can pay is off because I did my numbers wrong, or things changed in the market. And we'll just have to renegotiate on the fly. Basically, ask the seller, like, hey, I can't pay that now. If I could pay all cash and close pretty quickly, what's the least you'd be willing to take? And sometimes they're a little aggravated, but it is what it is, and it's a shifting market that we're in right now. Several of my markets the land prices are starting to go down a little bit, so we're being very cautious on what we're buying. We're only looking back like no more than 90 days to look at comparables.
Yeah, and right now, but I guess now being in March, it's getting a little easier. But I know a couple months ago, it's harder. And during the holiday season, when things are just slower, you may have less comp data, depending on the market. So it's kind of annoying. But I definitely do the same thing. But what I've found is it's still kind of a bottleneck, and especially depending on the market, if you're not doing like homogenous, like cookie cutter quarter acre
Mm-hmm.
lots or whatever, then data points are all over the place. And even after I speak with some local realtors, it's like, I just don't know. And so in
Yeah.
those cases, do you send out the postcard first and try to just get some market feedback? Or do you just base it on the CAD assessed value, or what do you do?
Yeah. No, if it's all over the place and I just can't figure out a price per square foot or a price per acre in that actual neighborhood, I'm microing down. I'm not mailing zip codes. I'm really just mailing smaller neighborhoods. If it's just all over the place, one sold for 100, one sold for 1.2, then yeah, I'll have to send out a postcard and just become a land appraiser. Ultimately, I don't like doing that because you'll get a lot of phone calls, just people fishing to see what their land's worth. I prefer the land offer letters on the more cookie cutters and homogenous areas. But let me tell you, some of the biggest spreads, some of the biggest profit deals are the ones where I wasn't quite sure. And we just went in for the biggest, deepest discount for the biggest margin of safety, room for error. And those have been the home runs.
Okay. Well, in terms of like the overall mix, what's the percent of the total that's like cookie cutter, and then the ones that are like that where they're not cookie cutter?
Yeah, I would say probably 70% of my land deals are the cookie cutter areas where it's like, hey, the 5 acre tracts sell for 10,000 an acre. Hey, these 10,000 square foot parcels sell for 50,000. So those are probably, I don't know, 70% of my business. And then we'll do kind of the outskirts, the recreational land. That's the stuff I love because a lot of the times I will sell that 99% of the time. I'll sell that on financing. We've got one paying off this Friday. I bought for 75,000 back in 2016. And I got the seller to actually seller finance me at 0% interest. So every single month, that payment all went to principal. And then I sold it for 159,000. And I gave that buyer a 30-year mortgage, and he's been paying me 663 a month now for several years. So ultimately, I had the breakdown on my desk here, but ultimately, I'll make a little over $120,000 on that one land deal. And it cost me, it literally, none of my own money was in the deal. It cost me nothing.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. That's stuff that I've been interested in doing too. I just haven't been disciplined enough to send out seller financing offers. Do you ever do that though? Like, hey, I'll give you X dollars down, or is it really
No,
just
I
cash offer?
actually keep it super simple. I'll do a cash offer. And if they're willing to sell, but they want more, or I can't pay that amount, I will say, look, I'd love to give you that much, but we're going to have to do it in payments. That's the same thing with this one that I purchased in 2016. I wasn't sure if I could do the 75,000, but ultimately he was willing to give me seller financing, principal only payments, and that's why I pulled the trigger on that deal. And what's crazy is that seller actually passed away, and I still owed him about $22,000. But the seller had put his nephew on the mortgage if he were to pass away. So I called the nephew and say, "Hey, I'm sorry for your loss. I hate to hear that he passed away, but listen, I owe you money. As you know, I purchased your Uncle Bobby's land, and let me know when you're ready to talk business." So we talked a couple days later. I said, "Look, I owe you about $22,000. My payment is this much a month, which is almost like 800 a month." And I said, "I've got about 6 grand in a bank account right now. If you'd like, I'll send you that whole amount. But I'd like to go ahead and just say this is all basically paid in full." So he went from 22,000 to 6,000 overnight. And I was able to pay off that loan, and the title company gave me a satisfaction of mortgage. So I own the land free and clear, and he wrote off pretty much all that because he wanted the 6 grand. He didn't want to wait for payments for the next, roughly 23 months or 24 months, however many more months it was.
Okay. Oh, that's really interesting. And it's almost like those deals where a person just inherits the land and they have no use for it. They don't want to do anything with it, and they just sell it at a
You
discount.
hit it on the head. He had no interest whatsoever. He didn't need the money. He basically inherited a note that he was going to get payments on each month. That 6,000 was way more valuable to him than getting monthly payments.
Okay. So for the cookie cutter ones, are those infill lots, or are they kind of rural, smaller town infill lots, or how's that work?
Yeah, I hate to put it in a box because there's really no boxes in land. I do a bunch of infill lots. I'll do lots on the outskirts that are also kind of cookie cutter. So it's a mixture. I like the outskirts of town because those are where the better deals are found. Now in the city where it's like they're all 10,000 square foot or 5,000 square foot lots, those are a little harder to find deals on. Do we get deals? Absolutely, but it takes a little bit more mail. So it's about, I would say, 50-50, some in the city, some just on the outskirts. I really don't discriminate. If I see land selling, that tells me there's demand and I know what it's selling for, and I just need to get it for a discount so I can sell it for just a little bit more to another
Okay.
buyer.
So when you're in data tree or property radar or whatever, drawing polygons, are you excluding any like the city center, or are you just saying here's the whole general area? How do you
Yeah,
draw your thing?
great question. So I use PropStream. I know a lot of people like data tree. Um, so I'll go on Redfin or I'll go on Zillow and I'll see where the land's selling, and I'll kind of zoom in, and then I'll click on each one of those sold parcels. Okay, this one sold, 30 days ago. It sold for $10,000 and it's 10,000 square foot. Okay, that one went for $1 a square foot. And I'll kind of put those in after I said I don't put them in boxes. I'll put the 10,000 square foot ones over here. I'll put the half acre parcels over here, and I'll start kind of, putting them on an Excel spreadsheet and seeing, okay, the 10,000 square foot parcels sell for this much a square foot. The half acre parcels sell for this much a square foot. And where are they selling at? So I'll draw that polygon or the rectangle or the square or the octopus or whatever you want to call it. And I'll pull that whole area. Today I'm going to pull the 10,000 square foot lots. Tomorrow I'm going to pull the half acre lots. So they're each going to get their own mailer for that specific amount. So if I figured out that they're selling for $1 a square foot, and I want to get it for, say, 49 cents a square foot, I just add that to my Excel spreadsheet and we start blasting land offer letters out for 49 cents on the dollar.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess it seems like it'd be faster to price list too, because I know sometimes to get me and like anyone else get analysis paralysis and just creates a bottleneck and not pricing it. But I think it's easier when you have it kind of like quarantined, isolated to that. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I try to
So,
isolate it. And sometimes I'll send 20 mailers in one day. Sometimes it'll be 2,000. So it kind of varies. I try and keep that pump, the old time farm pump. I'm always pumping it. And it takes a while when you're just starting out. For anybody listening to this, it takes a little bit to get that pump primed. You got to get the air out of the line. And then once water starts flowing through, you can kind of slow it down a little bit. I try and send out about 300 to 500 land offer letters a week, and that keeps consistent deal flow.
Okay. That reminds me of I got the Zig Ziglar collection. It's like 20 hours or whatever of his stuff. And he actually talks about that too. Like just pumping and pumping and pumping, nothing coming out. You're about to give up, about to give up. And then finally water starts gushing out. And that's a really good analogy. You didn't think about that. So what's your numbers? Like, is it 1,000 equals one deal or is it 2,000 letters equals one deal? How does that work?
It's about 829 equals one deal that will average us about $10,000 profit. So
Okay.
829 letters to make about $10,000. And I'll pull out my calculator, and this changes. This changes monthly. It changes with demand. It changes because we're now entering more into a buyer's market. We've been in a seller's market lately. So if I have to send out 826 letters and it costs me about 82 cents a letter, and I have it done for me. I don't do them anymore. You could get it done cheaper. So that cost me about $677. So for 823 letters divided by $677, that tells me, actually, I did that wrong. 677 divided by 823. That tells me that I'm going to spend 82 cents a letter, right? Well, I spend 82 cents to make 10, or sorry, what is 82 cents? So 80.82 times 823. I'm spending $674 to make 10 grand. And you can do that another way. You could figure out, okay, you can take $10,000 and divide that by 800 and whatever 26 letters. That tells me that I'm going to make $12.10 every time I send a letter. So for the people, and you said this already, Mason, I think before you hit the record button, for the people that struggle to mail or to send their land offer letters, if you know that you're going to make $12 every time you spend 82 cents, like you're going to be more encouraged to get your letters out every single week. So it's just that little psychology thing. That's why that KPIs, key performance indicators, are so important. You want to know how much you send, how much you spend, and how much you make. And eventually you'll see those patterns. Unfortunately, you have to get some data out there for several months to get, basically going back to Zig Ziglar's farmhouse pump. You got to prime it up. And some people have better numbers. I've got one student, she makes about $4 every time she sends a letter. Not as good, right? I've got another student that makes like $15. I wish I was in that market. I think that's Texas.
Okay. Yeah, that was another question I was thinking too is what is your strategy in terms of like, do you go deep on like one market and you just really know the pricing extremely well, it's airtight,
Yep.
or do you spread across like 10 different markets? Like how many markets usually in at any
Yeah.
time?
I try and stay in only a few markets at a time. I get land deals all the time now because once you kind of build up your name, I'm on all these podcasts. So people are sending me land deals. I'm looking at something in Titusville right now. Um, we're buying 18 lots in Hawaii for about 80,000. We should be able to sell those for about 350,000. Another one in Tennessee. I didn't set out to be in all those states. I really started in my own backyard and I went deep. And then before, my dad's in Florida and he wanted to get into the land business. So we started mailing his area, and he's boots on the ground in Florida. So it turned into Colorado, then Florida. And then someone called me about 122 parcels of land in the desert of Arizona. And I was like, I don't know about that, but we got them so darn cheap. It was like a no brainer. And we sell them for about 10 times what we paid for them now.
Okay. And so by speaking on other podcasts, is that like the primarily best way where you're getting these inbounds, like
Yeah.
unintentional leads?
I think I get more land deals by just talking about what I'm doing on Facebook, like Facebook Lives, just sharing what I like. That one deal I shared about how I bought it for 75,000, sold it for 159, had none of my own money into the land deal. Like anybody could do this. This is like the fastest way to become a multimillionaire in real estate. Like I surely wasn't doing that with houses. I talked about that first one. That one's didn't give me a single profit. It actually cost me money. I owned it for 10 years. And we're always told that houses appreciate, right? Well, not in my situation. So, and just talking about what I'm doing, mostly on social media, and people are sending me I could probably get a land deal every day in one of my messengers, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok sometimes.
Are the people looking to JV with you or
Yeah.
just okay?
They want a joint venture. They want me to buy it from them. And what's really cool is I was like, oh, I don't have, I kept running out of money. I was buying my own land deals. So I put a little post on Facebook one day. I have more land deals than I can buy. Please let me know if you want to partner on these. I'm looking for capital. I had probably 55 messages. 55. I didn't even get to respond to everybody. I've only spoken to a few people. I was able to I have a spreadsheet right now of their names and how much money they want to partner with and invest. And I have a little over probably $2 million that I've got just sitting there ready to buy land. I haven't used any of it. I've used one of them. We're buying those Hawaii lots with it.
Okay. Yeah, that was also what I was wondering was, do you ever use private money lenders, or is it primarily your own money or deal funders, or what's that look like?
Yeah. I've done a little bit of everything. So for a while there, I would get the land under contract. I would get it under contract at a massive discount and then just blast it out everywhere. Put it on Craigslist, put it on Facebook. I would go and put signs out. Once I got a piece of land under contract from the bank for 25,000, I put a bunch of signs out. It was next to Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado, 44 acres. I put a bunch of signs out saying 38K, cash only, phone number, must sell. And I sold it the next day for 38,000. The following day, I got another offer even higher, but I had already shaken the guy's hand on the side of the road. So I assigned my contracts at first, and then I started building up my bank account. And then I would buy one for like 10,000 and turn around and sell it for 30 on seller finances. So I was also building my passive income. And that one, that is life changing. That gave me time freedom. That gave me the opportunity to get paid. We're paid 69 times a month on our land. So I have 69 land notes out there, basically mortgages where people are paying me every month. And then it turned into doing larger deals. Like we're looking at 549 acres right now in Colorado, but I didn't start there. And that's where we're using private lenders and hard money lenders, which I don't like. I don't like using hard money lenders. I prefer to go in with a partner that has the cash, that doesn't need it for a couple of years. And those people are everywhere right now. So many people are losing money in the stock market. I mean, talk about the Bank of Silicon Valley. Like I use bill.com. My cash is tied up right now. I paid multiple vendors. They haven't received their money. So where else is it safer to put your money than land?
Okay. And what's that arrangement look like when you're bringing in a partner on one of these larger deals?
Yeah, it's all over the place. Like my mother-in-law, my mother and father-in-law, they just lent me $40,000 on a land deal, and we sold it the next day for 90,000. And we are paying my in-laws off in 5 years, and we're paying them 9% interest. And our buyer is paying us off in 13 years, and his interest is 9%, but it's 9% on 90,000. And my interest is 9% on 40,000 that I'm paying my in-laws.
Okay. And what was the down payment on that?
So the buyer actually gave us $5,000 down. So I pocketed that. And my mother-in-law's payment is about $840 something a month, and that will get them paid off in 5 years. And my buyer's payment is about $946 a month, $946. So it's really only a difference about $116 a month. So I got paid in the front end, $5,000. And then over that 5 years, I'm going to keep about $6,900 with that 115 a month or 116 a month. And after that 5 years, I keep the whole 946 a month for another 8 years, which turns out to be about 90 grand. So altogether, I'll make about $101,000 on that deal and not a penny of my own money. So I was paid in the front end, all throughout, and at the end. Now, some people ask, oh, did you give him a prepayment penalty? What if the buyer pays off? No, heck no. I would rather him pay it off tomorrow, and then I'll get my $40,000 or $50,000 profit, pay off mother-in-law, and we'll go and do another deal.
Okay. Do you ever sell notes?
I have people asking me all the time to buy my notes, so I will. I will. I'll sell them.
Okay. I guess it just depends on what they're offering to buy them
Yeah,
for.
I've had people offer me anywhere from 75% or 75 cents on the dollar. So if I had $100,000 note, they offer me 75,000. And there's different things that come into play. I have never sold a note, so I'm not super knowledgeable on it. I've had several people I've trained in the land business that they sell their notes. But yeah, I rather just collect each month because I know the power of a compounding interest loan, a mortgage. The banks do as well. That's why they're the prettiest, biggest buildings in every city and every state. If you have a $200,000 mortgage at 6% interest, which by the way, my friend just closed on a house and he's paying 6% interest right now for the next 30 years. A $200,000 mortgage paid over 30 years is $1,200 a month. That turns into 430 grand. So sometimes I collect more on interest if you look what I'm going to collect in 30 years compared to what I sold the land for.
All right. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that on a different call. I think that was with Ken Van Loo, or maybe it was just a call between me and you, I forget. But the majority of like the early years is just interest, right?
Oh yeah.
So the longer
First
it
10
is,
years.
the better, right? First 10 years.
Yeah, the first 10 years is pretty much front and loaded interest. So that one that I sold in 2016, their mortgage, their loan amount has only went down a few thousand, but I collected 20 grand in payments. Like, because it's front and loaded interest only, or if not interest only, it's front and loaded interest. And here's the thing, most of these guys are going to pay me off before 30 years because they're going to build on it. They're going to sell it because they're looking at real estate prices. These guys that are paying off on Friday, they're selling it. They're selling it for like 300,000. So it's crazy. So yeah, if they only pay for 10 years, that's amazing. I'd rather them pay off sooner because like 10 years is fine. Like, we collected all this interest. Let's move the money somewhere else.
Okay. So what's the standard terms you're offering, like percent down and interest and total years, when someone asks, like, what's your terms?
Yeah. So most of the time, I will just try and collect at least $1,000 down, sometimes more. If I sell it through a real estate agent, I want to collect at least $5,000 to $6,000 down because I'm actually going to transfer my deed. I'm going to transfer the ownership, plus the realtor needs to get paid. So I try and get anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 down. And then I'll ask the buyer, what is an affordable monthly payment? Now, we put what we recommend. What's an affordable monthly payment? And if you tell me like I can only afford $350 a month, I can put 2 grand down. Well, I'm going to have to extend your loan term to like 30 years to be able to give you that payment that you can afford each month. On average, though, I'm doing anywhere from 9 to 12% interest on our loans. So I don't really care how long they want to go, as long as the payment is enough to get that thing paid off in 30 years. Some land investors, they'll do balloons. I don't recommend that because you're setting your buyer up for failure, because more than likely, they're not going to come into a bunch of cash in the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay. Yeah, they may not be savvy enough to refinance and all that stuff, right? So
Exactly.
all right. That makes a lot of sense. When you're closing these, you're closing through a title company?
Yeah, when I purchase them through a title insurance company. I get a title insurance policy. Have I always done that? No, I did a bunch of small land deals in the beginning, and I honestly was very uneducated, and I would buy it without doing a title search. And sometimes I would get like, properties that had tax liens on it. One time I bought a piece of land with $157,000 IRS tax lien on it. So I highly recommend getting title insurance on this land. I've gotten land for free that we didn't get a title insurance policy on. And you still need to run a title search, make sure there's no liens or encumbrances or back taxes, because you can literally trade places with someone. You don't want to ever trade places with someone that's in a bad situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you ever using a RMLO when you're selling on terms?
What does that mean?
I forget what the acronym stands for, but basically one example in Texas, it's called Texas Pride Lending. So what they do is they'll vet that borrower. And honestly, it's more importantly, it just makes you compliant with the Dodd-Frank Act, because hedge against predatory lending and stuff like that.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about Dodd-Frank or RESPA when it comes to land, because they're not resting their head there at night. They're not building a structure on there. So no, I don't do that.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Because sometimes I'll have to like fill out a form on a few that I've sold on terms where it's like, I'm representing and warranting that I'm not selling more than X number per year on terms. And to be in compliance with Dodd-Frank, it was really strange. But a lot of times they have these standardized forms because they're usually just closing houses, right? So maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're doing that on houses, you absolutely have to abide by Dodd-Frank rules. Absolutely. I once did a a house where I sold on a lease with the option to buy, and I ran that buyer through a mortgage banker. I wanted to make sure that he could qualify in 2 years to get that loan to basically buy that house from me, because like I didn't want to just take his option money and have to pay it back to him one day. So yeah, that houses are totally different than land. I prefer to, just keep it simple and deal with land though.
Okay, got it. And in terms of dispo strategies, are you primarily using Facebook, land.com,
Yeah.
MLS? What are you doing?
I have sold a tremendous amount of land on terms for cash, you name it, on Craigslist, using signs. Sometimes I'll just text the neighbors, mail the neighbors. The neighbors always want to own more land. Facebook buy sell groups, Facebook marketplace. But right now I'm kind of changing the strategy a little bit. I am tired of posting all over the place. I'm tired of having to have a VA do that. And the VA has to answer all these questions. And then we use land.com and Land Century and Land Moto and you name it, Land Hub. I now can get rid of all those subscriptions, get rid of that VA. Well, I keep the VA because she's the one that finds the land sales specialist realtor. So we find the realtor in the area that's selling all the land. How do you do that? You look on Zillow, you look on Redfin, and look at the solds and start copying and pasting the listed by and the bought by agent. And eventually you're going to see a pattern. Hey, Mason Clement is the guy selling all the land in, wherever, Austin, Texas. Mason, will you list this land for me? Or will you tell me if you have a buyer that's interested in it? I'm using real estate agents, leveraging real estate agents, not just any real estate agent, not Uncle Bob that got his real estate license and does one house a year. No, the land sales specialist real estate agent. And that has taken so much work off of me and my team to allow us to buy more land. And if you're buying land where there's demand, there's always going to be a couple or one land sales specialist agent.
All right. And in terms of like vetting new markets, a lot of people look at the ratio of sold to for sale for the past
Yeah.
12 months, which is tough, obviously, with the market changing so much so
Yep.
quickly now. But what do you usually do to vet it, a new market before going into it? Say you want to get into Texas, like how would you approach that?
Yeah, right now I'm just looking to make sure land is actually selling in that area in the last 30 days. About, I'd say, what are we in now? About 9 months ago, I would look at the ratios because we were more in a seller's market. And if there was 40 sold and like 1,000 listed, no, I would stay away from that market. But right now things are changing. So there's going to be more listed than that's actually selling in most markets, not all. But right now, we're just really looking to see the areas land is selling, and we're just going in for a bigger discount. So you have to be flexible with the market. And markets are micro. Land markets are micro. This neighborhood could be doing like trading a whole lot differently and for a lot more or a lot less than the neighborhood across the street, basically. So you just want to micro down and know that area. And the biggest thing is Warren Buffett talks about this a lot, is just having that margin of safety. So if you buy it for 30, better be worth 90 type thing.
Okay, but previously you mentioned bidding 49%. So is that usually what you're looking to do? Like how much are you looking to sell it for if you buy at 49? And like, what's those percentages?
Yeah, I just threw that out there. It changes. It depends on how expensive the land is. Like I'm in an area where the parcels sell for $5,000. So I'm not going to pay 49 cents on the dollar. So I'd be paying like $2,400 just to make, a couple grand. So that area, I'd probably need to be at like 5 cents on the dollar or 10 cents on the dollar. So let's just use easier numbers. Land selling for 10,000, the most I'm going to pay is 1,000. So 10 cents on the dollar there. I'm in another area where the land sells for $800,000 for a lot. Well, that area I can offer 82 cents on the dollar and still make a $20,000 net profit. You just backwards plan. It's like, okay, land sells for 800. The real estate commission is going to be blah, 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 this much. Subtract, that, and then subtract your closing costs, subtract your buyer's discount. Cause if you're going to put land on the MLS, you want to be the least expensive one, right? It's not like houses. Well, honey, this one's got granite. Well, this one's got a pool. Oh, this one's got dirt. This one's got dirt. This one's 30,000 less, we'll take that one. So I also try and build in that buyer's discount, and then closing costs, realtor fees. All right, now I can offer, $600,000 for this $800,000 lot. So I don't recommend the rule of thumb, like, a lot of house flippers like, oh, we got to offer 70 cents on the dollar. That is the biggest way to failure.
By just not changing our approach in the pricing of each one, because they're all different. Huh?
Yeah, it's all different. It's all different. And it's just, depends how expensive, how much the demand is, what is sitting on the market. And you can simplify this very easy, and it's hard for me to put it out there without showing. But it's just it's really an art. There's no science to it. It's just contacting landowners that own land that might not want it. And 99 out of 100 people are not going to take your discounted offer. And 99 of them are probably going to get a little pissed off or offended. But here's the thing. It only takes one. It only takes one person.
Okay. Do you use Pat Live or anything like that to screen calls?
I've tested them before. I prefer, having an in-house person, kind of like you talked about. Like, I want them to be, local with me, not working for a million other people. Because when someone calls, I want them to be treated like, they're the only person, they're the customer. It's and I'm not getting a ton of phone calls with these land offer letters. A lot of times they come back signed. Sometimes people will call just to like, oh my God, you offended me. Or sometimes they'll call and say, is this really, is this a scam? And most of the time when they ask if it's a scam is if I offered too high. So it's a quick indication to say, oh man, I offered too much on that land.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that. I'm using Pat Live the past couple of months, but I almost feel like it's counterproductive, because if I don't get that call like right then, a lot of times I can convert them. And even if I price it too high, it's like, oh, actually we're not paying that much. We can buy it for, $1,000 instead of, 10,000, whatever it is. Like Pat Live, they're never going to convert that person. And I just feel like having that delay and me having to call them back and stuff, I've just been really on the fence about it. Like, maybe just close my account, because I think just having that, like when they call, they're ready to do something, either yell at you or sell. So obviously the goal is to, go on.
This is no offense against Pat Live, but I'm pretty sure they only pay their people like anywhere from $3 to maybe $9 an hour, which I doubt it's that high. Like, why does that person doesn't care? I want the person answering the phone. Let's just say it's Sam or Jen. Those are my acquisition managers. I want them to know that this call I'm getting right now could make me like $5,000 or $3,000. And I want them to treat that person with respect, and I want them to create rapport and connect with them. I want them to know their dog's name, their granddaughter's name. Like, Pat Live will never give you that, ever.
Yeah, and if they do, they're charging. The more minutes they're on the phone, the more they're charging you anyway. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Sometimes Jen's talked to people for almost 59 and a half minutes on some of the first initial calls. And that's the connection sometimes you have to make. Not all land sellers are like that. It's usually more house sellers that you have to talk in several meetings and several follow-ups. But you want your acquisition manager to do that. And sometimes when you're just starting out, that's you.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to talk about team building. We talked about that a little bit before starting to record, but before I forget, when you're looking at the last 30 days sold data, what do you have, like a minimum number? Like, you're not going to get into something if only 3 properties sold, or what is that number? Or even like range?
There's an area I'm looking at right now. There's only 2 comps, and I'm really hesitant on it because it's not a lot of data. And there's only 2 comps in the last 3 months. I generally like to see about 4 or 5. Now, will I buy it? Yes. Because, here's the only way I'm going to buy it, is I need to have such a low offer price. And we're still going back and forth. It's actually on 6 acres, that one in Titusville. Like, I need to be about probably 40 cents on the dollar. I want it to be a no-brainer, because what do wealthy people do? They have all the upside in their favor, no downside. So if I made the biggest mistake ever and I bought the land at 40,000, it's worth 100, you almost can't fail. You can't mess that up. You can get your money back at least.
So the lower the number of comps that are available, the more you need to just have a bigger discount, margin of safety, margin of error. Okay.
In my mind, uncertainty equals bigger discount for me. And not everyone's willing to do that. It's like you just got to make enough offers where you have multiple land deals presenting themselves to you every day. Like I talked about all those land deals coming in on social media, plus my own personal mailers. Like I'm looking at multiple land deals a day. I don't want everyone to say yes because I still have 3 kids. I have a wife I want to see and all these things. So it only takes one. It's kind of like getting married. You only have to find one person. One person's got to say yes.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier about that example of like an $800,000 deal where you can pay 83%. Obviously, just kind of throwing numbers around, but as long as you make $20,000, like what's your minimum profit per deal? And because it sounds like it just varies dramatically.
Yeah.
And well, why don't we stop there? Because then I have a follow-up question on that.
Yeah. It
All right.
does vary. And I always say 10K all day. That's like my minimum. But me and my dad are in one market and we split the profit on it. And we usually split like $8,900. So on average, I'll get like 4,300 for each one of those that close. But we sometimes get 2 or 3 of those in a month and it adds up. So an extra $4,000 a month, I'm not going to turn that away. I mean, for some people, like that would have been life-changing for me when I was in the military. I was, an extra $4,000 a month was life-changing. I remember that first land deal that I sold, and it was making me the second land deal, not the first one, but the second one that I sold on seller financing because it wasn't that good of a piece of land. So I thought that $400 a month, that payment that I got, like that was my paradigm shift, like Stephen Covey talks about, because that was paying my truck payment. I no longer had to worry about paying that truck payment because that land buyer was paying my truck payment.
Okay. But do you ever consider like the actual percent return on your investment? Because say like it seems like you almost have to double close. If it's like $800,000 property and you're only making 20,000 on it, it'd be not really the most efficient use of capital, depending on how long it takes to sell, obviously.
Yeah. So for those $800,000 ones, I'm not holding on to those in seller financing. Those are quick turn and burn. So I'll double close those. Sometimes I'll just assign my contract where basically I get the land under contract for 600 and I'll sell it for, 690 and make a quick $90,000 profit. And sometimes I've got a lender or a money partner and we'll use his money and he'll get a percent of that profit or interest. So generally these lenders like the deals to be a little longer term, and the money partners, they're like that quick stuff. So I'm not using my own money for those $800,000 deals is what I'm getting at.
Okay. Got it. That makes sense. So what's the usual price point where you're using your own money?
I try and stay under, 20,000 when I'm using my own money. And
Okay.
a lot of times, like it's almost, I told my team this a couple months ago. I was like, I think I'm done using my own money to buy these land deals because there's so much money out there. You could pay 8, 9, 10% interest. And why stress yourself out? Because here's the thing. When I was using all my own money for these land deals, for anybody listening to this, you can't see, but like my bank account would be like a roller coaster. Some days I would have 30,000. Some days I would have no money. Some days I would have 50,000. And then I'd come across this great land deal and I'd have no money again. I just prefer to keep the money in the bank account and pay out lenders and partners. I'm doing more partnership deals now this year because one, the money's there. 2, the deals are there. And 3, it's less stressful. It's way less stressful. Another thing I recommend is implementing profit first into your business. If I had the money in my account a year ago, I would spend it on a land deal. I would totally spend it. Not the best decision as a business maker or as a businessman. That's a real estate investor mindset. You're trying to make that money work. But business people, they got to think like, okay, what about 6 months from now when land slows down a little bit and we're now living off the income from our land payments? It's nice having that cash.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's actually helped me too, using profit first and just the concept of like, if you can't take 50% of your profit to pay yourself, there's no reason to do the business. So that's just kind of one test that I think has been really helpful for me, and also just making it all worthwhile. I know we have a hard stop. We're rapidly approaching here in a few minutes. So this is the last question to bring a full loop about your virtual assistants and a team. Before we started recording, talked about teams kind of fluctuating, growing, and even Amazon, other tech companies is laying off thousands right now. So why don't you talk about how your team is right now and what the optimal approach is to managing a team or hire and fire all that?
Yeah, scaling is sometimes dangerous. We've scaled up to 11 people at one time. Now I currently have my acquisition manager that she's actually retiring. She did pretty well, did some great investments. She bought a farm. She's retiring. So it's about to be just me, my executive assistant, my land sales specialist that helps me sell this land, and my accountant. I have an accountant. She's retired. She's got an MBA. Basically, she's just working for us part-time now. So what is that? 4 people, including myself. And we're going to be way more profitable than we were with 11 people because we're doing less deals now, but higher profit margins. I mean, before, like going back to the spreads, like if it was like a $3,000 profit, we would do the deal because I had to pay my team. So you don't want to get on the transaction treadmill just to keep your team paid.
Yeah, that's definitely what I've been going through as well. And like we talked about before we started recording, I'm looking more like subdivide deals because I'm closing one. It's just 3-lot subdivide, but that one deal I'll make a little over like $250,000, and it's more than like an entire year doing all these little deals. Like just being busy for the sake of being busy. It's like doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I keep reminding myself, why did I get into this business? It wasn't to become a multimillionaire. It wasn't to make $150,000 a month in land payments. It was to have breakfast with my kids every morning, be home by the time they get back from school, go on date days with my wife. Like that was what I was going for. And I just have to keep reminding myself because we don't want to let Parkinson's law take effect, because when we quit our day job, we now have this 8 hours just showed up. Oh, I got to fill it. I got to do all these deals. Let's have 15 people on my team. No, land investing is a lifestyle design.
Amen. That's exactly why I did it and left my day job last year for that reason after building it on the side for a while. So, oh yeah.
All right, just blew some eardrums, but that's the victory bell. That's amazing. Congrats,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah. Oh, your microphone didn't pick up the bell very much. So anyone on audio only.
Do I need to do it again?
Closer to the mic. Yeah. All right.
I won't.
Very weird.
I won't do it.
Yeah. It's all good. All right. Yeah. I want to let you go, but how would people get in touch with you? And I know you got the Land Sharks program. I wanted to get into that a little bit, but how would people learn about that? What should you leave them with?
I'm trying to put out 2 videos a day on TikTok right now. That is hard, actually, to try and teach people about land investing. So follow me on TikTok, Brent L as in land, Bowers, Brent L Bowers 1 on TikTok. If you want me to teach you how to do this, if you want me to hold your hand and like actually show you the way to build your land investing business, go to thelandsharks.com and schedule a call. Either me or someone on my team will talk to you, see what your real estate investing goals are. And if we feel like we're all a good fit, I'd be honored to coach you.
All right, perfect. Would you say it's for maybe someone starting out or even experienced folks, or what do you think is a good fit for Land Sharks?
Anybody. Like I have a lot of veterans. Just a police officer just came in. I have a single mom of 4. She has an interior design business. She just did her 4th land deal that made $28,000 net profit. She makes about she's at $1,100 a month income right now from land. Anybody. I have a lot of guys that get out of the house flipping business and into land. So you name it. You don't have to be knowledgeable. You don't have to have money, time, or knowledge to be a real estate investor.
Okay. Amen. Very inspirational. Well, yeah, we are right on the hour here. So thanks for the time. Really appreciate it. This has been extremely helpful.
God bless, Mason. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey guys, I appreciate you taking the time to listen or watch this episode. As you might have noticed, we don't run ads, but what I would like you to do is just subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would help us out tremendously. You don't even have to leave a review, but if you do feel like you would gain a lot of value from this episode, feel free to share it with your friends and comment, like, subscribe, all that. But subscribing to YouTube would be what helps us the most. That's the only thing I ask. Thanks a lot. And if you do want to get in touch with me, feel free to email me at mason@scalablerei.com. Thanks a lot.